I got new skates. So these are the brand new Them 909, and they are pretty cool. I want to give a huge thanks to my supporters on Patreon for helping me get the funds to buy these skates for review. So Them is a company that was started by John Julio. John's been in the industry for decades. He was a pro skater and then turned into pro skater slash team manager slash brand manager with Volo, and decided, you know what, I want to do my own thing. So in 2018, he left Volo and started Them, which was a brand new skate company. The first skate from Them was called the 908, and it used an open mold, one of those molds that you could get for a skate that you could find at any factory. It did have a proprietary sole plate that they designed, but for the most part it was a very off-the-shelf, standard-looking skate. Nothing super special looking, but the way that it performed was pretty shocking to a lot of people. The sole plate was really good. It wasn't the widest sole plate, but it still slid really good. It had a really great Royale groove for a lot of people, and it was comfortable. So here we are in 2020, and the 909 is out. This is a brand new mold from Them. This boot is a proprietary mold. They built it, they made it. No other skate's gonna look like this. The sole plate is the same as it was in the 908. There might be a little bit of tweaking for beefing, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same sole plate. The sole is the same width. The groove hasn't been changed. The height is the same sole plate. The 909 shell itself has a lot of cosmetic changes, but it still has a lot of influence from the 908. You can see the styling is very similar. The sizing is very similar. If you fit the 908, you'll probably fit the 909 just fine. The inside of this shell is about 5 millimeters longer and maybe a little bit wider than the 908, but it uses the same sole plate, so you're not going to get much of a difference if you switch from the 908 to the 909. One of the coolest things that John did towards the end of the 908 was start integrating the Intuition liner into his boots. And I got the model with the Intuition liner in the 909. So this Intuition liner is well known as one of the most comfortable liners on the market. Intuition as a company started as a ski company. They would make liners for ski boots, and here they are making liners for inline skates. If you've never held Intuition liners before, it's a very different feeling. It's like a very solid, molded, form-fitting style versus a traditional liner that you get a lot of flop. It's kind of a soft material. You don't necessarily get this hard, rigid feeling. And that comes from a lot of things. First, they use a proprietary material for their foam. They also have this really nice heel lock system, which is a very solid, rigid, I'm not sure if it's plastic or what, but it's sewn into the liner, which keeps this, this heel area locked in, keeps it firm, so that you don't have any weird twisting or weird suction back there. They are fully laceable, so you lace up the liner so that it fits around your foot nice and solid. It also comes with a built-in shock absorber. This thing is removable, so it's just on there with some Velcro. You could rip it right off. And it's gonna provide a slight heel lift. The Them 909 already has a little bit of heel lift for it, so I'm curious to see what this feels like skating. But they fit me great. They might be a little snug, but I've heard that they wear in after a few hours of skating. You could also heat mold these liners, put a warm sock full of rice in the liner and push it around a little bit so that it expands a little bit. The goal is that this liner is supposed to eventually feel like you're skating wearing a glove for your foot. So I'm out here at the Durham Skate Park. It is 7 a.m., so I'm here before anybody is awake or anybody is skating, and I'm gonna go try them out. All right, so these are the size medium, Them with the medium Intuition liner. They feel a little weird. I think the Intuition liner is the limiting factor here. I feel like my toes are touching the front of the liner. My feet are 28.5 centimeters, which is the high end of the medium range. I think it goes down to like 27.2 or something like that. So I'm at the high end. I know that with the 908s, even with the stock liners, I never felt like my toes were touching the front. With this, it does feel like that. However, I do know that there's room in the shell, right? So the shell is bigger than the 908. And if my foot fit in the 908, there's no reason it won't fit into the 909. This liner is thinner, so it should work. But it definitely feels like it's a little more cramped in there. I'm hoping that that's due to the liner not breaking in. Just give it a little bit of time and let the liner break in. But I'm definitely feeling the front of the liner with my toes, and it's a solid feeling. There's no neoprene in the front. It's a solid liner, so it's a little tight. I am noticing a forward lean. The shock absorber that is in there actually does a pretty good job. I'm getting a little bit of shock in the front of my foot, so when I'm doing little airs, I can feel the shock on like the toe area of my feet. Nothing on the heels. I am getting that forward lean feeling though. My last skates were the Them 908 that I skated, and they felt fine. So there's definitely more forward lean with this. That's due to the Intuition liner having that shock absorber. What I'm probably going to do is take out that shock absorber for the next session and see if it makes a difference. These insoles are non-existent. So the insoles for the Intuition liner are built into the liner. There's no removable insole, which means that these are going to be pretty shocky. I'm going to want to figure out a way to get a footbed in there or an insole underneath, because otherwise this is going to be whatever the Intuition liner provides and the boot, and that's pretty rough on old knees. All right, let's try some grinds. Yeah, I mean, they slide. They slide like I expected. However, the race heel is really distracting. It's going to take a few sessions for me to get used to it. I'm getting serious, like, New Jack team callbacks when I skated those skates that had a lot of raised heel, and that's just not my style. I feel like I'm leaning forward a lot. I feel like when I'm doing my Mizus, I'm more on my toes, which usually a Mizu especially, you can get really far on your heel and kind of lean back. I had a really difficult time doing that with this. I think it's going to take some time to adjust, but yeah, they slide fine. No issues with soles, no issues locking soles. The sole is a little bit thinner, and I was a little more worried that I was going to miss, but to be honest, I didn't miss very much. A couple times just warming up, but I think the sole is wide enough for most people. All right, groove tricks. All right, so groove tricks, super interesting. This cuff is unique. I didn't talk about it in the beginning, but there's a little flip switch that you can flip upside down, and it will make the cuff go up or down. So you can get a taller cuff or a shorter cuff. I feel like I'm having a bit of a difficult time on back farves, and that high cuff might have something to do with it. It does feel fairly stiff. It's definitely stiffer than the 908s. Granted, I skated the 908s for a few months, so I don't know what box fresh 908s would feel like, but they feel stiffer than my 908s are now. The boot itself is fine, but the cuff feels, to me, feels fairly stiff. My USD 7 is a fairly stiff boot, but the cuff I feel in the USD 7 is more flexy. This feels kind of stiff. Again, I'm not a great tester of cuffs. I usually skate whatever cuff comes stock, so take that with a grain of salt, but I'm having difficulties getting boot down on back farv, which is weird to me. That's one of my safety tricks. And although the run up here isn't great, I should be able to lock, and I'm having a very difficult time. So that just leads me to believe something's different. You know, it could be me, but I think experimenting with these cuffs will be smart. As for the liners, I'm still getting a little bit of toe wiggle. My left toe more than my right toe. I wonder if my left foot is a little longer than my right foot. My left toe is definitely still touching the end of the liner. I don't like that. I hope that it breaks in. I might go and heat mold them after this session and see if I can punch out a few mil in the front of that. I'll bet you also removing that heel for the from the liner for the shock, that might make a difference too, because it wouldn't slide my foot forward. It would keep my foot kind of in the middle of the liner. A lot of experimenting. That's why I love to test. All right, I'm gonna try top acid. I don't have high hopes that I couldn't do the back royale. Leads me to believe that this might be a very difficult thing, but I'm here to try for you. All right, those locked pretty easily. No issues whatsoever locking top acid. I'm a little hesitant to do kind grind. It's been a long time since I've done it, and the way we are right now, I don't really want to hurt myself too much with tricks that I know that I fall down a lot, so I'm not going to do a kind grind, but know that they are fine for top sides. I've been doing a lot of top soles on my mini ramp at home, and I have the muscle memory now for how to do topside tricks, especially with the 909s. Or the 908s. I've been skating the 908s a lot, so these 909s have a very similar sole plate. The cuff does feel a lot stiffer, but I feel like I'm getting low enough that I'm able to compensate, and slid just fine. Absolutely no issues. I think these are fine. I think I remember doing topside tricks with the 908s and not having a problem back during my initial review as well. So I don't know if it's the sole plate just locks great, or if it's just the stiff cuff maybe helps me, forces me into getting lower and having good habits. It's really hard to say, but these definitely locked fine, no problems. All right, so bit of a different first impressions video. With its lockdown, I'm really hesitant to hurt myself, so I'm not pushing it very hard. If a trick comes naturally and quickly, I'll do it. If I miss, if I screw up, if there's any chance of getting hurt, I'm not. So only a few tricks here. I haven't skated street in a while, so it kind of shows. But as far as the skates are concerned, I'm really feeling it. I think that the grinds are fine. I think that the royale is as expected. I got on that ledge pretty solid a couple of times. I had a bit of a problem getting off, but yeah, it feels fine. Again, I liken these skates to almost expert mode for some of us old guys who are trying to skate. they're not super forgiving. They don't have the big wide sole plate. They don't have the big deep Royale groove. They're not for everyone. But if you like a really thin responsive skate, and if you like knowing every little angle and every little lock is going to be solid, and you can skate these good enough so that you can lock solid, I think you're going to really like them. I know I really liked my 908s. I don't see any reason why this sole plate would be any different. Again, it's just getting used to the feel of the skate. These Intuition liners still feel a little short for me, still feel like I'm having way too much heel raise, and that's something I'm going to have to get used to. So next time I'm going to take out the heel pad and see what that feels like, and probably heat mold the liners before the next session and see if it makes any difference for this toe scrunching thing, because it feels like my toes are curling back. It's that tight, and I know there's room in the boot. So it's just, again, a sizing issue with this Intuition liner. I have heard that this is normal, but normal doesn't feel good. This is a weird one again, so it's going to be a month or so until I do my final review. I don't want to rush this because I feel like these are pretty important skates. It might be, aside from maybe you could argue the Rems, it might be, and I guess the Adapt, it might be one of the first skater-owned molds that we've had, and that's important. You know, if all skates were lined up and they were exactly the same, which one would you rather support? I think you'll get a lot of people voting for the 909 simply because John's one of us, and that's a cool feeling. Performance-wise, I think you're going to get what you expect. If you're used to the 908s, you're going to get a very similar ride with the 909s. I think the Intuition liner is really interesting. I'm curious how it breaks in. But for now, it's a fine skate. I am looking forward to skating it a little bit more. I haven't had any skates that I've had to break in a while. Everything kind of felt great out of the box. So this is going to be different, and add to the fact I'm not going to be skating out very much while, you know, things are still a little weird. So we will see what this review ends up like. But I do appreciate you watching. Thanks again for taking the time, and I'll see you next time.